funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and reconnect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So while I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. Funk, thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. I needed me some rainy days, so I needed me some rainy days, so for the weary, so we teary eyes realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and reconnect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So while I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
No, I don't need to
Okay.
hear them.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's Saturday. We usually don't broadcast on Saturdays, but this is Divided We Stand. It's 8 o'clock, roughly, Eastern Standard Time. We want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. And if you watch it after the show is live, that's fine too. We appreciate all of our members. Our membership is growing on Facebook, so if you are a member, please share our page to others. We want to get as many people as possible together. Oh, good. There we go. Volume, right. The volume wasn't quite right. Thank you, CB. I appreciate that. So first of all, again. All right. So, again, good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock on Divided We Stand. We want to have a shout out to our folks on Facebook. We've increased our membership, and that's what we want. We are a demonetized channel. We don't ask for anything. We don't want anything, quite frankly. We just want to have the group work together and basically elect Joe Biden. Which brings us to tonight's topic, and that is, what are we going to do now after the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? When Dave and I were talking, I guess about a month ago, I discussed the possibility of her death. In fact, I assumed that she was going to die before November. Now, that's not so much of a big guess, but I was worried about it then, and of course it's come to fruition, and there are a lot of things that we have to worry about now. And I thought about it over the last 24 hours. What are we going to do? How are we going to respond? We have to do something. Well, there's no person any better than my co-host, the guy who has nothing better to do on Saturday nights. That would be David Price. So I want to discuss the situation with you, Dave, in terms of where you think we're going to go with this. What can we do? We can't put our head between our legs and say, that's it. Good evening, Dave. What say you?
Hey, Brian. Hey, everyone out there in whatever kind of land that is that you're in. Look, tonight we could sit here, Brian, and be really maudlin and really, really sad because take everything away from politics. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is one of the giants of our age. She was. And she is now gone. But the thing is, we're still here. We know what she wanted. We know what she fought for. We know what her dreams were. And it's up to us to carry on with those. So tonight, if anyone gets upset because it seems maybe we're a little jovial at moments, or maybe they get upset because they think we're too despondent, we're two guys who are going through emotions, okay? But I think our job, Brian, as always, is just to say what we think and how we will react, and be grateful anyone who's listening that we're not leaders. Boy, would we lead you astray. But I think, obviously, this is big, big political news. They talk all the time, Brian, about an October surprise. And this is not October, but it is September, moving quickly toward October. And as you said, it's something we all knew could happen. And I think, we're kind of hoping maybe it didn't.
Right.
Well,
Wasn't it more of that we were pretty much all hoping that it wouldn't, but in the
yeah,
back of our minds,
but it did.
this is
But
probably
the fact is it did. And I guarantee that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not will it to happen this way. The word that I used in a couple of things I wrote today, and I think even actually on a Facebook post on this page, indomitable. And she was that. That's exactly what she was. I don't even think the idea of giving up was something she even ever considered.
right.
So
She
we
did
should
go down
neither.
with the ship. She fought to the end, which was
Well,
great.
I mean, not only did she fight. I mean, think about this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it later. But I mean, death is going to come for all of us, right?
Oh, you only die once. That's what
That's
Guy
true.
McPherson says.
That is true. And so it really matters. You're born once, as far as we know. Reincarnation is not scientific fact. And you die once. And out of respect to anyone who thinks they know what happens when you die, I don't think we do. Some people believe. You can believe whatever you want. So it really matters how you live your life. And I'll tell you what, Ruth Bader Ginsburg will be somebody who will be celebrated for the way she did her life, the way she lived her life, how she handled herself. And I think even as approaching death, she taught us something. She could have quit, right? She could have quit, but she didn't. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight a lot, is how we honor her memory. How do we not quit when we want to? One last thing, and we'll go back to you, Brian, but just to tell people, we all learn these things different ways. I'm not. Look, this won't be one of those "where were you when John F. Kennedy was assassinated" moments, but it'll be up there in terms of that. And so last night I was having dinner with my wife. Fortunately, in Virginia, they have outside dining, and we were sitting there, and some guy called me. Do you remember who it was? I think it was you, Brian. And
Right.
and I said, I was kind of curt. I usually take phone calls, but I could tell in your voice something was wrong. And I just said, well, I'll get right back to you. And as soon as the meal ended, as soon as we ended eating there, I happened to look. My wife doesn't like it, and I don't usually do it on my phone. But we had a third party with us, and he was still finishing it up. And I looked at, and the first words were some variation of "oh my God" or "oh
Right.
fuck."
I have
Right?
to mention this, Dave. When I did call you, you weren't really being curt. It's. I think it's your personality, if I may say
Sure.
so myself. You handle stress very, very well. So it wasn't unusual for me to hear you during a situation like this to say something like, "I'll get right back to you. I've got to take care of something right here." That's
But the
just you.
irony, yeah,
The
the
irony
irony
was
was
you didn't know.
I didn't know, and I found out, and I don't know how well I handled stress last night, to be honest with you. Um, what I did, and I suggest this for anybody, uh, the restaurant was, oh, I don't know, uh, not even 1,000 steps from our apartment complex. But that was a long 1,000 steps as I walked back. And it came in. I do what I often do when something like that happens. I grab my iPad and try to find out a little bit what I did know about what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in her life. I mean, I've heard a lot. We all know a lot. And by the end of the night, that depression, that what should I say, sense of fear, words that were certainly appropriate to what I was feeling, was kind of gone. And I'm ready now. I think I posted something like that. People need to grieve, but when you're done grieving, let's get to work for what Ruth Bader Ginsburg wanted.
Right. And Dave, I'm going to add something to that, just from
Right.
an anecdotal, personal perspective. In the past couple of weeks, I've lost a neighbor, a childhood friend, somebody I wasn't close with afterwards. But I've made this analogy, Dave, that during 1942, 41, maybe to some extent 1943, things didn't look good for the United States during the war, and there were people who were, like anybody else, getting old and dying during those days, and some people died. So they were building up this tension, and they never knew that, of course, we were going to defeat Germany and Japan. And I'm looking at for example, my neighbor, a person Dave, or you knew, and she hated Trump, and she was, I believe, 90 years old when she died a few weeks ago. And she never got to see that. In other words, the tension was built up,
Right.
and then there was no release. So I think this is what really, really is bothering me. It's not just this Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing. It's not, her death is tragic, but this is going on all over the place. Where people who
Right.
are dying left and right in the meantime, and they never, ever, ever get to see, hey, where we're going to go. Now, On the other hand, we don't know where this is going. It could get
No,
worse.
that's true too. So again, the same thing there. I think the way you honor people, if you want to do that, want to honor them, is to continue the work that they were doing, and that's the only thing we can do. That makes any sense to me. Giving up doesn't make sense. So we'll go forward from here. I'd like to talk tonight a little bit, and you can lead in with questions, whatever. What does happen next? Now, Brian, you put it very well. We don't know. Let me repeat that. We don't know. And the reason we have to say that all the time is a lot of people think they do, right?
They think that there's always going to be the resolution because in the past,
Well,
it's always, the Yankees will always win in the end kind of attitude.
Yeah, but I think if 2020 has taught us anything, and I suppose you could even go for the period 2016 to 2020 if you wanted to, but especially 2020. Hey, Sandy Blue Ocean, welcome. I think you're certainly not alone in America.
That is the same Sandy, by the way. Sandy changes her name every once in a
I
while.
know.
I think it is. I think it's Sandy.
I don't know. And Anthony, of course, Anthony Trump.
Anthony, Texan.
Absolute loon. But back to the moment. If this 2020, we'll just isolate that year. So it's anything. We don't know. Okay, as human beings, we don't know. But as people who know me know, and those who are new don't maybe or will. It's not some. I mean, I spent a good portion of my career as a reporter, and slash now back writing, independent writer now, not working for any publications. But I think one of the things that we did as writers is we tried to, when I was a political writer, we tried to look at things and project logical outcomes, right?
Correct.
And I don't know anymore at this point. The election of Donald Trump, to me, is completely illogical. I can understand why it happened, but it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right. And whatever you want to say about Donald Trump, he has upset politics as we knew it, as we know it. You can talk to any reporter down here who's covering it. They just kind of shake their head. I've never been through anything like this. Long time politicians. I've never been through anything like this. People who've been in government for 30 years through various presidents or even more. I've never seen anything like this. So whatever we say tonight certainly is not, it's based on the best information we have today. And I want to caution people that, and certainly look at others. The one thing I don't want people to do is to assume that any one source, even if it's something you believe in, I'm a firm believer that the New York Times and the Washington Post print truth. I'm a firm believer that Fox News, for the most part, it depends correspondent by correspondent, anchor by anchor, wouldn't know truth if you spotted the T, the R, the T, and the H. But it doesn't matter where you look at me. Now it's just time to act as the moment dictates. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, some possibilities, and then as each one happens, what do we do?
Right, Dave. So every once in a while, I check out Bill Palmer's report on the internet. Bill Palmer's an internet journalist, and he's considered kind of to the far left, Dave, in terms of journalism.
Right.
But the title of his article today was something to the effect, "It was the worst of times. It was the worst of times."
Yeah, I actually,
short snippets. I mean, it's not it's not the New York Times.
No, but I mean, I think that can be, again, stressing, that can be the outcome. It doesn't mean it was pretty bleak last night. I will say this. I don't think it's as bleak last night, 24 hours later, as I thought it was last night.
Right. Well, there are so many different possibilities, and we're going to have to look at these kind of things because I know, how
Let's
do you
get the bad
attack this?
Sorry.
I think if we're going to deal with Trump, we're going to have to do what they do. I mean, he seems to go in all directions. He gets the Department of Justice taken care of. He gets the EPA taken care of. He has NOAA being taken care of. He's got every agency and administration taken care of. And I think that there's no one way we're going to get
No.
this thing done. We have to do it multi-pronged. I mean, I even mentioned this on Divided We Stand a couple of days ago, and this was, no, I guess maybe, I don't know if this was yesterday or not. It doesn't matter. It's one of these far-fetched brainstorming ideas that I get. And I even said as going far as one of the techniques would be, getting some, really heavy dirt on a Republican senator and basically compromising them and saying, look, and I mean, if that is available, if that type of information is available, or on one of their family members, if you have to do it, this is so critical that I think that you have to almost go the Larry Flint route if it means you have to play hardball.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. That's critical. I've said all along, politics is a dirty business, and this is the dirtiest part. This is the sheer power part. Now, you have politicians like Mitch McConnell, who I think maybe even this has given me a better handle on him. I'm still trying to figure out exactly. I mean, he's evil, but I mean, there's always an end game. Trump's end game, of course, is Trump. We know that. What's McConnell's? And I do think wow, he's risking a lot. I think he wants his legacy to be judges. So he's not going to give up on this one. This is personal for him and cementing his legacy.
And it's so much so, Dave, because look, he and Lindsey Graham, they've made hypocrites of themselves over and over, but especially on this issue.
Let's look at that. Let me start.
How they handle that, I'm sure they'll have some excuse, that.
Let's get the one thing out of the way that we fear the most. Trump nominates, it goes through, it's done. I do not think that is going to happen in the way that some people think it's going to happen. I'm not saying it can't. Here's what I think. Remember, I'm the same guy who said 11 times when Trump made remarks he could not win. I was the same guy who said Trump could not win the Republican primary, and he did. And I'm the same person who said he cannot win the presidency, and he did. But now I think we even know Donald Trump a little bit better. We certainly, it's not just us who oppose him know him better. Everyone knows him. So here's what I think will play out first. I do not think there will be a vote before November 3rd. Now, why do I say that? A couple reasons. First of all, Trump will propose. He might even propose tomorrow, his candidate. All right. But he was dealing with 20 names, right, Bri, roughly?
That I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's the number he spewed out over the past week.
Right, and we don't even know if that's
I'm just
true.
When I say,
can we, before we even say that, can we at least make the statement that they were preparing for this, despite whether she died or not? They knew that there's a
they're not
possibility.
Stupid, Brian. We say they are. They're not.
So whether it was 20 or it was 4, they
So
probably
we.
have a thick notebook. Well, I would hope so.
We were preparing for it too.
Don't
because
forget we had
the
different
woman
candidates.
somehow she beat 5 cancers. 5, not 1, not 2, but 5. So yes, the thing is though, Brian, in today's world where everybody has information on everybody, right? Live mics, YouTube tapes, jilted lovers, whatever. The vetting is, simply the political word for checking somebody out. You need to take a lot of time. They don't have that time. Between now and the election.
Well, the Republicans wouldn't care anyway.
But no. Wait. Yes, they will. And I'll tell you why. They don't want this to go down in flames either. They want whomever is named to be passed through. So I just don't think there's enough time Trump will give a name, but I don't think there's enough time for the process to unfold.
Well, they had a process. You could say the same thing about Brett Kavanaugh, and they still pushed
They
him.
didn't. The opening didn't come on Friday, and they nominated Brett Kavanaugh on Wednesday.
Right, that's true.
Okay?
That's true.
It's time, Brian. It's time. Now, what we don't know is, as Trump all along narrowed it to 1, I don't think he has. He doesn't think that way. So he's got to figure out. And there's going to be lobbying. Hey, there's going to be lobbying. This person wants that person. This person says this. I want this. Everybody's want, who they want. There'll be people, oh, Ted Cruz is our guy. People say, no, don't take Ted out of the Senate. We might lose Texas. So it's not that easy. Now, that's the first thing. Now we get to the second, from November to January, right?
Right.
There's all that time. There are 18, and we know Republicans can go back in their word, and Democrats have done it too. So, I mean, it's not like
a comment here on what you just.
Yeah. Yeah, CB, I can't argue with you. I mean, that's your speculation. Yours is as good as anyone else's. I'm just not sure I think they want to rush. But here's the thing. So let's pause for a minute. Let's think. All right. Here are the facts that I know. 18 Republican senators currently sitting are on record as saying you should not name a Supreme Court justice before an election. One of them being Lindsey Graham. We know. Don't just listen.
Okay. Look,
I don't care.
That has no weight right now.
What?
That has no weight.
It certainly, Brian, you're wrong. It certainly does, and here's why.
Okay. I'm waiting.
Lindsey Graham is in the first battle. Listen. He's in the first battle for his life in South Carolina. Lindsey expects to win, and he probably will. But he doesn't have all that wiggle room that he had before.
CNN was just saying today that they're thinking the opposite. They're thinking that this is a way to coalesce and get their members out.
No, they're wrong. And here's why.
They're wrong.
Let's go back. Let's go back. First of all, Trump has done nothing pretty much since 2016 but lose votes.
In terms of
name a place where he's gained votes. The suburbs, blacks, Latinos, the military, the military industrial complex.
I agree with you there. That's not what I'm worried about.
No, but listen. But politicians know. The Republicans made a deal. They did sell their soul to the devil this way, I think. They said, we will keep our Republican base. We will add Trump's base. We'll work together, and we will be able to be a dominant party once again. And they made a mistake. They were dealing with an evil buffoon, Donald Trump. You don't think in the back of every senator's mind who's a Republican, except those like McConnell who are entrenched, that the name, what was that guy from Alabama? That guy, that senator, what was his name? Do you remember, Brian?
Yes, I do.
And what was his name?
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions.
He was a powerful person in Alabama.
Right.
And now he'll be out on the street.
Then why don't you think this guy is...
Who's that guy?
Jeff Van Drew. He's still behind Trump. He's right up his ass.
Jeff Van Drew's a whore. We know that. He's a political whore. He won as a Democrat. He never really was. I mean, if you follow him.
Right. He just had a lunatic that was...
Yeah, well, he just changed
what he was.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying history. Yeah, short history backs you. Long history doesn't in this idea of a very quick vote.
Okay, but I know what you're saying. There are
these. Let's name names. Susan Collins comes out today. Now, we know Susan Collins does this, right? She backtracks. She's all over the place. She's in the toughest race of an incumbent.
Okay, but we know they need Democrats need at least 4.
All right, let's name them.
Do it.
I'll name them. All right, Mitt Romney's already out and said no.
He said, I bet I haven't heard.
He's out publicly saying he will not vote for a nominee until the president is decided.
Okay, good. That's one.
Collins came out today and said the same thing. Now we know. Look, there's a difference, though.
What am I going to say? You tell me. Generally, what am I going to
say? She lies. She does. Right. Of course she does. But here's the thing. She wasn't facing a re-election. The people that are in these close state races, they have to draw independents. So they cannot necessarily say, oh, great white father, Donald Trump, bring your supporters.
Okay, think like think like Mitch McConnell. What is he going to say to Collins to convince her?
Well, here's the thing.
And he will do something. You
All
know
right,
that.
Brian, I'm
Think
not.
like
You
a
know, you're
Republican
saying
right now.
before. Let's scrap this discussion, and we'll talk about the New York Yankees in
No.
1920.
I'm listening to you, but I'm just
I
saying.
know, I understand that,
Okay.
but this is new. Okay, so what happens? What will Mitch McConnell promise? He can't promise much. You know why? Because I will go on record saying that Mitch McConnell will not be the Senate Majority Leader come the next term. The reason McConnell had so much power, it appeared he was going to be there for a long, long time. Absolutely true, Darlene. Absolutely true. But look, the first rule of politics is win. You know any other one, Brian, that supersedes that?
No, I agree with you.
And it doesn't mean win for your party. It means win for you. Because if you're not there, you can't do good. And I've never met a politician yet who doesn't say they're going there to be good. Donald Trump included.
Pulling for you, Dave. I really am.
I don't want you to pull for me. Just listen.
Okay.
So what happens is right now, when I say 18, I think there are 18 Republican seats up, and 7 of them or 8, it's really iffy, right? So, and what's the balance right now? It's, what is it, 53? Yeah, 53. What's that? 53-45 with 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. So technically, it's 53-47. So if you get 3 to move, you've got a tie, 50-50. You've got Pence.
Well, it's still not a tie. You can forget about it.
It is a tie.
Not if the vice president's going to vote on a tie.
Oh, Jesus God.
Well, I'm just saying,
yes.
You're talking about either you're going to win or you're going to lose. You're going to win at 50-50.
You're cutting things. It would be a tie. Then the vice president steps in.
Right.
We know how he's going to vote. It doesn't make it not a tie, Brian.
I understand, but...
Well, no, you don't. Because if you understand...
It means that they're going to get what they want.
All right, why don't we just do this? Let's just give up. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
So what I'm saying is, listen to me.
I'm just
First
saying,
thing,
that's not the only way we have to play the game of hardball. That's like saying, okay, let's hope that this works out. It looks like this can work out.
Let's not look at the big picture. Let's not look at the little picture. Let's just jump in and play hardball. How'd that work? How'd hardball work out for Chris Matthews? Do you have hard balls right now? No, because he tried to get him hard and he's gone. And Chris Matthews is a good guy. He's a great guy. So here's what happens. We need, first of all, to know who is vulnerable to being persuaded not to vote. There are 2 lists to work on. One are the 18 senators, Republican senators currently serving, who are on record at one point or another as saying they would not vote in this situation. Now, granted, some of them said it before, but many of them said it when it was they're good to do that. But they are on record, and we hammer them in state.
Record.
What?
As if that's so powerful anymore. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
How dumb are you?
No, Dave.
It really
doesn't. Do you think it's going to matter to Lindsey Graham that he said he would never do something like this?
Shh. It's not where we were.
Okay.
People are running for re-election. You got me? Right now, they got to do what they got to do to get reelected. Collins and those in those states, the only place they're going to get reelected is get some independents. Okay? Now, let's look at the brilliance of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That factors in. We haven't talked about that. Do you know what she said in a letter to her granddaughter? I think it's either 3 or 4 days. There's some question on it, about her last wish. Have you been following that?
That you posted that she hopes that the president, that the Supreme Court nominee is not, somebody's not nominated before the next president comes in. Is that what you were talking about?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So you've got this political thing about how many you're going to go. Now you're going against an icon's last wish. A dead icon. It's not that easy, Brian. For Mitch McConnell, he'll lose no sleep. For Donald Trump, he'll lose no sleep. There'll be senators that won't lose sleep. All right. So that's one thing that can happen. You suggested another. You don't think there are people right now in the Democratic Party looking for what kind of negative could impact? Of course they are. Everybody. If Jesus were to return today, he'd also have people.
Okay, maybe I should put it this way, Dave, because I'm really not disagreeing with you. I know there is political pressure on Susan Collins. We didn't mention Murkowski. That's another one too.
Right.
I get that, but that never made me feel good with Kavanaugh. It never made me feel good with the impeachment.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Okay, right. It should. So all I'm saying is that that's just one little toolbox out there, and we have to depend on the Republicans, all of whom we know.
No, we can work that. We can work that. We need to find people in those states. Now, listen again. You want to know something? Cory Booker is running for re-election, correct?
Sure.
In New Jersey. Yeah. And Cory's going to win. And Cory's a good guy. But the thing is, Cory doesn't really care what anybody from Utah thinks right now. And why should he?
He shouldn't.
Right? In election, I'm just saying.
There are more people in 3 of the biggest cities in New Jersey than there are in the whole state of Utah.
Well, he doesn't care. Right now, his focus, as is everyone up for re-election in the House and the Senate, is on their state. So, as a Virginian, I can call Susan Collins until I'm blue in the face. She isn't going to listen to me. She's not going to listen to me. But I've got to find a couple people in Maine, right, her state, whom I know, or through somebody I know, and get them working. So that's how that works. That's the pressure we can do. That's something we can do.
Okay, that's now. Again, we say that's one tool.
Well, what do you want me to do? 58? You can only say one.
No, I say this is the thing. We have to discuss some other ways of doing this, because that has not. Okay, at least let's get here. Okay, you've asked me to agree with certain things, and I have agreed.
I disagree with anything.
But you do know that type of thinking has not been very successful in the last 2 years.
No, I don't know that, because I hasn't been used on people who were up for re-election in close.
But 2 years' time is not terribly long for memories.
Au contraire, my friend.
Okay.
Au contraire, my friend.
Like
you follow demographics at all?
Listen,
do you know what
she should have known. Look, remember what people said? We won't forget. The people of Maine will not forget what Susan Collins did with Kavanaugh.
I didn't agree with that. I thought they would, or they didn't care.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's timing, Brian. It's timing. That's what I think you're missing.
Well, then if they don't look, then maybe by the end of November they'll forget about Ruth.
All right, here's another thing. You just brought up Joe Biden's name. All right. I will guarantee you there's at least a couple Republican senators who want Joe Biden to win.
Privately, yes.
And Manchin might as well, because West Virginia is so GOP.
Right. It's a tough call, but he can be decent.
It doesn't matter what I really like Doug Jones a lot from Alabama, but it doesn't matter what Doug does. He's not going to beat his rival, who's a Republican and a former coach at Auburn.
Right.
But here's the thing, though. Biden knows those people. Biden can pick up the phone and say, look, he can play nice, right? I've always respected you. You've always respected me. Don't you think, you should wait? Because, see, here's the thing, Brian. If they wait until the election, if Trump wins, it's over, right? Because they'll see him winning if they win. But so we're talking about 2 completely different periods. We're talking about from now to November 3rd and November 3rd to January 21st. And there couldn't be 2 more different periods. They could not be 2 more different periods. All right. So one is to give up. We said we're not going to do that. We're going to eliminate them. Second is to get some kind of campaign going, imploring, pleading, whatever, to those vulnerable Republican senators to do that. Now, Biden can offer a couple things. Biden has said, and this will piss off the left, and but we got to win first. He's not averse to working with Republicans, right? He's done it. He can offer some pretty big things to a Republican if they lose. Not a cabinet position necessarily, although that could. Do you realize the president? I didn't even know this. The president controls, I don't know what it is. It's in the thousands of jobs. So what would you rather be? Undersecretary of Commerce or an unemployed senator? I don't know, right? So he can play good guy that way. He can also play hardball if he needs to. Now, let's look at last night. Now, you're saying public opinion doesn't matter. Yeah, that may be. CB, unless you got I'm going to argue with you. Unless you got a wiretap on him, none of us know. We know what Mitch McConnell is planning. We know what Donald Trump is planning. It's not good. We don't know what anybody else is planning at this point. Last night, I don't know what the crowd finally ended up numbering, but it was a lot. Who showed up to pay the respects, right? They, not only pay the respects, to be with others like that. It may, we better be ready to take to the streets.
Well, that's the other. I was going to eventually.
Well, yeah, but Brian, you want it all there, and you want to get to you want it to be your way.
No. I just told you have to have a.
It's got to be slow, Brian. So okay, let me ask you a question.
Have to have a plan
let me
ready.
Ask you. Listen, you work, correct?
Obviously.
Would you take a couple personal days to go protest over this?
Absolutely.
All right. You don't think there's others like you?
Absolutely.
All right. Did we really feel that way, honestly, about? It wasn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg who died. There are going to be people who are going to fight for her for a long, long time. Let me just give you a couple examples from down here. All right, why she's so popular, and that does matter, Brian. And if you say it doesn't, you're absolutely batshit crazy and wrong. Every year they have the National Book Festival. Last year she would have been 86, right? An 86-year-old woman set the record for the most people attending a book talk in the history of Washington, D.C.
You think there were more people for that than there were who bought Minecraft?
No, of course not.
So my point is there.
Do you think those people who were there would go out and protest? Minecraft's not going to leave their damn computers.
Right, that's true.
Okay, we always worry about this group and that group. Look, it's very simple.
They might take their shotgun out like Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh,
I'm sure he played Minecraft.
And probably not, actually. He probably played something else. But yeah, but that again, I just get tired of that, Brian. We all
We're
do
on the
it.
same side here, Dave. And people should understand. We're on the same side.
One guy goes out and kills somebody. That's a tragedy for two people. Look, they're not all. We're not gonna. We got to beat them. How do we beat them? All right, we take to the streets, right? We protest.
Well, that's when all else fails. Or we don't have to.
I don't know. It's pretty good. You need to be out there now. It builds, if necessary.
Can you get a Black Lives Matter, a thing with George Floyd from Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
I think you can. Let's wait and see who Trump nominates. What if he nominates David Duke of the KKK?
Well, that would get him out. But he's going.
Well,
to
you want to know
nominate,
something?
I think they say he's going to try to nominate a female who's like Laura Ingraham or some Ingram, whatever.
He has one on the list. No. She's the worst of all of them, but that's beside the point. No, look, part of our job, then you're just giving us another task, right?
Yeah. And we've had
the task is to convince people as much as we can. Trump's people are a lost cause. The only way they're going to turn on Trump is if he does something and they do it themselves. There's nothing we're going to say. There's nothing we're going to do. All right. My favorite, it really does encapsulate the Trump cult the best. I forget how long they'd been married. I think it was 35 years. It was a pretty long time, right? This couple. And the husband contracted COVID-19 and died in a state where, Trump had said, don't wear the mask and that kind of thing. And so they interviewed the wife. Said, aren't you mad? She said, yeah, we just lost another vote. Seriously. I mean, that was her response. That's been documented. It's not made up. It's not some apocryphal story. So when people feel like that, they're not. But there are people who should be leaning that way. I will name them, not the individual groups. I do not see, and granted, I'm none of these groups, but I'm going to speak, not speaking for them, I'm speaking to them. If you are a Black American, I do not see how you can support Donald Trump if you care about Black Americans. If you are an immigrant or the child of immigrants, so first or second generation, I do not see how you can support Donald Trump. If you have any concern for the environment at all, you cannot support Donald Trump. If you are a veteran, unless you can convince yourself or a current serviceman that Donald Trump didn't say what he said, so they're the people we need to reach out to, Brian,
right.
for that.
Now, let me bring this up. I think I may have brought it up last week, but here's the scenario. I brought it up before, but I think it's important enough to bring up. Whether we're dealing with Ruth Bader Ginsburg death or not, a situation occurs where the night of November 3rd, Trump leads in those contested states because 65%, roughly 65% of all Democratic voters will be voting by mail, and therefore not till the next day or the day after that will.
It won't be that soon either, Brian. But okay. Yes.
But Zakaria brings this up because this is where it sounds like the constitutional crisis, which now does relate to RGB's death.
Of course.
Because if he wants. Because first of all, he wants the constitutional crisis, Dave, because he's losing in the polls right now.
Of course he wants
that.
And
Barr is willing to give him hit, but he needs somebody to deal with John Roberts. Now, John Roberts looks like he would go our way given that situation, perhaps, because he's got to make a decision.
Right.
And as you've said in the past, it would be such a I think that you were basically saying it would be a stain on his career. If he
more than that, it would. I mean, it would just
ruin everything, because
everything he's built.
He's smart enough to know where he's going. But let's just suppose that we get somebody like a Ted Cruz. I'm not saying it's going to be Ted Cruz, but somebody like him, and then it's a lock. And then we have the constitutional crisis to say, you know what? November 3rd was the day. That's the day we're going to judge by. And in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, it was already for Trump by 1 point, and all those thousands of Biden votes on November 4th and 5th will not count. I'm just saying.
Brian, you're not saying. You're absolutely right.
That is my biggest
That is a possibility.
And then
you know what we do?
Ready for it.
Here's what I'm going to say to everybody out there tonight. I'm going to say it for the rest of the election. If that happens, what would Ruth Bader Ginsburg do?
I know how she'd vote.
I didn't say that. If they illegally and unconstitutionally pushed through something, you don't think she would have fought it? Not Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Supreme Court justice. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the fighter person.
No, I get that, but I don't need Ruth Bader Ginsburg to tell me to do the right thing. Okay.
Well, some people do, though, Brian.
I mean, she was a fine woman.
No,
it didn't matter.
Let me put it back. You're doing
this. Is 2 plus 2 logic here, Dave.
You tell me.
2 plus 2.
No, you tell me. The scenario just laid out. It happens. It's a possibility. What are you going to do?
Well, first of all, you want to see what actually happens that night. What does Bill Barr? Because Bill Barr is the key to
Brian.
this. Bill Barr is the key. So he goes out.
Stop it. I'm going to come right back at you. Here we go. You just laid out a scenario. The scenario was such, and it's a very real possibility, that on
an
election
night, possibility.
What?
It's a likely possibility. It's more likely to happen than not happen. Would you agree with that? It's more than likely that
No, you know why I won't yet? Because it makes logical sense, but it hasn't happened. And what I mean by that is, certainly it appears, it seems, Democrats
Twice.
more concerned about the virus. I mean, I got that. But so let's say it does. Let's just say it does. And let's make it 70%, whatever. And basically what you just described is calling the election, stopping it before it's complete.
Or he declares himself winner that night.
That's stopping the election, okay?
Fine. Whatever you want
What are you going to do?
Fiat, whatever.
What are you, not somebody, not speculative, you brought it up, what are you going to do?
I'll just say this. If he declares okay, hold it.
I'm worried about it.
If he declares himself,
to know what I'm going to do.
First of all, I have no trust in what Chuck Schumer is going to do.
But Brian, you're missing the whole.
What am I going to do?
What Trump would do?
First of all, I just can't walk out of my house that night and run down to Washington. I have to be sensible.
All right, so
I coalesce the forces.
Brian, we're going through this as an exercise.
You asked me what I'm going to do. I'm trying to tell you.
You were very quick. You were very quick to give an option.
No, I'm saying okay. Let's picture this. We're doing this, which we will be doing, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, on November 3rd. Dave and I will be here.
Right.
Dave and I do this all the time. Okay, this is how we get through things.
Go ahead.
So it's November 3rd. It's that night, and it's just like 16, where it's 12 midnight, and it's looking bad here. And Trump is tweeting that I'm in the lead. Thank you. I'm going to be your next president. And then Biden is saying the votes haven't come in there, fella. We're going to wait. And then we get to the morning, and then he declares himself the winner. Bill Barr institutes something where he says that it is now shut down, and the Justice Department are not going to allow any mail-in votes after such and such a time, and they will be considered illegal votes. Whatever it is, they lie. Whatever lie they're going to create.
It's not about them lying. We know that. It's what are you going to do? What is each and every one of us going to do if that happens?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be pissed off. You got to get pissed off.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. That will change
things. What do you want me to... Listen.
No. Oh, no. Brian's pissed off.
What?
We can't have that.
Okay, Dave. It's like network. You got to get mad first, and I'm already mad. I've been mad for.
That's what I'm saying. So how much more mad do you need to be?
First of all, I'm not going to go out and get an AK-47. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's something you're not going to do. What are you going to do?
I know one thing I am not going to do. I'm not going to.
Jesus, Brian, say one thing you are going to do.
Okay. See, I'm going to tell David Price I told you so. Number one. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go online first of all here. We're all going to get together. We're going to get ideas. Should we all go down to Washington? Should we protest?
And there you are. And there you are. You've just answered your question. It took me a long time to get you there. I don't think Socrates had to work that long on Aristotle, and Aristotle didn't have to work that long on Plato.
No. It's not that simple, Dave. It is not that simple. You're trying to force me into the quick answer, and it doesn't work like that.
You just gave one, and it was an excellent one. It was a first step. It took you 21 minutes to get to that first step. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's fine, because you have to think it through. I'm first of all, the way you were leading with the question, I'm thinking you're saying,
all of us have.
Brian, you want to do something? You go down to Washington on November 4th, and I know you didn't say.
Here's what I'm saying.
I know you.
Here's what I'm saying. If any of us, and I'm speaking to you, I'm using you as an example. If any of us think of a scenario, right, that we feel is probable, then we need to start thinking about what we're going to do in the event that becomes reality.
Okay, now. Daleen brings up, let's stay right where you are.
Okay.
On breaks. Daleen says, even protesting won't change shit. Okay, so she says, okay, so you go down and protest. Is that going to change anything?
All right, Daleen, I'm going to say the same question I had to Brian, and I will have to everybody until we get rid of Donald Trump. What are you, Daleen Gregg, going to do? You don't have to answer that. I'm just saying we need to begin thinking about it.
Well, I know. Well, if you look, I have plenty of ideas, which ideas I'm kind of already doing. For example, if I had the ability to lead people, I would say,
Oh,
first of all,
Jesus,
listen,
God,
no.
There's
You've
no
got to
ifs.
listen.
There's
You
no
got
ifs. No,
you've got to
Brian.
be effective. For example, you start not buying things. I know it hurts a lot of people, but you start protesting by not buying things. That shuts things down. You don't go to work. Shut the whole country down.
Now,
Even just the blue states. Shut the blue states down.
Brian,
He can't put a gun to our backs.
you're saying if you have the power. We all have the power to put that into somebody's mind, and that's what we have to do. That is a
put
brilliant.
a seed there. That doesn't mean they're going to
Brian,
activate.
that's brilliant. Brian, that's brilliant. Okay. What I don't want to hear people put themselves down. I'm sorry. I may be wrong. Maybe I'm still a child of the 60s. Not immediately, but anybody who tells me protest doesn't work, they are wrong. Okay. It depends on how you protest, where you target, and how quickly you want the results.
Or we may have to have a Kent State for something to happen again. And that's a shame because somebody's going to get their head blown off.
Let's look at, how many, just think about this, Brian. Before Donald Trump, how many great black leaders died fighting for something that should have been theirs at birth? You
can even have the ones that didn't die that had expatriates had to go, like Paul Robeson and things like that. The list is endless.
Let me get back to something you said earlier, okay?
Right.
Would you agree with this? People are not powerless.
Okay, you're doing this psychological trick. Yes, where I have to keep saying yes.
I do a psychological trick.
Okay, no, look, but it's leading. Yes, people have some power. Some power.
Right,
yes.
Stop it. You don't have to explain yourself.
Okay, got it.
Would you agree that the more people together have more power than less people together?
Yes, I agree.
All right. So one of the things to make your idea work is, do you have friends that are of a different ethnic group than you?
Yes.
You teach in a school that's predominantly black, right?
Yes.
Or Hispanic.
Yes.
And look at the membership. How you get those people together is to say, this is an issue worth fighting for.
Well, they have to trust me first. That is the first thing.
Oh, well, yeah.
You can say anything you want and it can make sense, but they have to trust anybody. I don't care what color. It has nothing to do. They have to trust you.
What I'm saying is, right now, unfortunately, and trust is a big issue.
Absolutely. That's the only way you get rapport.
It doesn't matter. If you don't want Donald Trump there, you're on our side. Doesn't matter. So if your Black Lives Matter and you want Donald Trump gone, you're with us. And we're with you. If you are a Latino activist and you want Donald Trump gone, if you are a woman who doesn't want to get grabbed by the pussy, this group, I don't mean divided we stand. I'm talking about those of us opposed to Trump, or where you go. And I think, and but I think, look, the smart people, the leaders in those groups will be pointing out. I hope even some of your environmental friends do that, the selfish ones. But,
that's another issue.
If Donald Trump gets this court appointment, that's horrendous. If Donald Trump gets this court appointment and wins, that's even more horrendous.
That's the death of the country. Can you and I agree on that?
No.
Well, the military better take over if that happens.
No, Brian. What it is it's the death of
democracy. Whatever.
But we can get it back. I'm not being naive.
In this day and age, when we're near extinction, I don't know how you get it back.
You want to do that then? Let's just say it's over for environment. Let's not do it. You're not doing that.
No. You know me. I've had my problem with many of the subscribers from my.
See, we all have our problems.
Yes.
My problem is with, and my
I've
problem.
Never given up.
And you won't, and neither will anybody in this group. We won't. Yes. Are we scared? You'd be a fool not to be. Okay. Should you act out of anger? Probably not, but it's a damn good motivation right now. Not Trump. I'm sorry, Kim. I'm not arguing with you. Trump is a wannabe Hitler. Trump is Hitler if we give him the power.
Or if you suffer in the same way anybody else suffered, that's all that really matters.
Well, no, I mean, it was actually in Germany, if you study the history, it was a very small group that supported Adolf Hitler, right? They rose to power.
Under 40%.
Very, very, but they were able through intimidation, different times. But I'm just saying, basically, it was the people sitting on the sidelines.
You say the same thing about the Red Army.
See, I'm saying I don't see how you sit on the sidelines this time.
Now, notice a lot of these people are not agreeing.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that's where the push has to be for Trump. Now, the push has to be whatever we can do to throw maybe literally, throw our bodies in the way of a vote before November, and then do the same thing again. But I think it'll be a little bit easier if it's past November 3rd.
Right, because that way you have some clout behind it. Those senators, Republican senators.
CB, I don't want to be smart, and I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And I'm not brave, okay? I'm really not. And I'm not, in fact, if you ask some of the people today who called me, what they call me today on the Republicans page, a lying, gay, idiot, what else? Pedophile? What number?
Always, say stupid shit like that. You know what I mean? They always go there.
I want to address CB because I think he's genuinely concerned about himself and me. So I can only speak for myself. I have to say, and again, I'm not saying with false, I'm scared. I love to live forever. But I would almost take it as a badge of honor if I were on Trump's list. I really would. I have a post coming tomorrow where I went out to the White House for the first time in a while and did a little protesting yesterday on my own by myself.
We need your videos, Dave, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I got them. Well,
you should explain to people what you're going to be doing.
Well, it's coming up. I'll talk about it later.
We need that.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that's something
near Washington.
But my point is, look, I guess I have to do this in a story. It's the best way I can do it. When you're a radical, when you're a radical, it's easy to be a radical, and I consider myself a radical. But I consider myself a pragmatic, realistic radical. People who know me, I think they've said, the big question, Brian, you came first, how the hell did I keep my job in Bridgeton? Did you hear that? I mean, people have said that. And the reason is that you find out what's right and then you go for it. And you just better hope you're right. You just better hope you're right. And I have never, Brian Weinstein, and anyone listening, I have never been more convinced than the next statement I am going to make. Donald Trump is not just the worst president in history. He is the first president who has put democracy in jeopardy. So, if you love your country, what do? You fight him. Now, am I going to go to the White House with a gun? No. I've been listening to a lot of people. I actually posted something today from the other side. It amazes me how the other side mirrors this, Brian. It really does. They don't see what we see. I don't know if you saw the post today. It was one kind of scary. I post them from time to time when I run across somebody of Trumpites speaking about why they're supporting Trump. And two of them said, well, if this Biden guy wins, I'm leaving the country.
Yeah, right.
Man, I want to know his name and say, listen, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I'll pay you to leave now.
Right. Dave, I saw on, I guess it was 77 today. For those of you who aren't from the area, it's just a road that goes probably about 30 miles. And
to nowhere.
Right. But, I went past the farms and I started seeing these Jeff Van Drew signs, which already makes it revolting. And I see these big, these big contraptions to water the corn. And they have this huge flag that says Trump 2020, no more bullshit. And I was thinking, this is probably one of these farmers who kept getting the subsidy checks.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? So he's getting the checks, he's double dipping on selling his shit.
first of
That's
all,
why he's putting it up there.
first of all, let's get back to where we have to do every time in this show. America is divided.
As always, but more so this time.
No, it is divided, and we're not going to go to the history tonight.
Right.
So you got to make a choice. I've made my choice. My choice is not Trump. Now notice, I didn't say not Republicans, and I didn't say not conservatives, because anybody left who's voting for Trump is neither of those things. They aren't. They can say they are. They can say I was born that way. They no longer are. And I would debate anyone in the world who wanted to suggest that Donald Trump is following Republican or conservative.
Right, but they've co-opted the name, you know what I mean?
Fine, that's okay, but you can't have it. You can't have it. They got it. I mean, they're just kidding. So that's fine. So the problem becomes, I've been thinking a lot about that. Okay, let me give you for instance. Okay, so I have already voted. Want to know who I voted for? I actually put that on my personal page. And some people say, I wonder who now. So I have voted proudly. If anybody doesn't believe me, I actually kind of broke the law. I shot a picture of my ballot as I was voting. We use paper ballots that aren't fed into machines here. And here's what I don't like, Brian. And this is good because it's talking about all this stuff, how we have to fight. So my wife Judy and I'm 68. She's what's she 80? No, she's 69. And we've been pretty careful.
Said that.
No, I know. We've been pretty careful.
Judy, he's talking about you.
Yeah, I know. We've been pretty careful in this pandemic. And as you might know, I'm certainly more adventurous than most people. But we made an agreement, the two of us, and I think it's why we have been married maybe for 47 years, not this sole agreement, but we just said in the beginning of this, not only would we not force the other person to do something in this pandemic that she or he, me or Judy, didn't want to do, the other person wouldn't do it either. So, for example, if Judy wasn't ready to go into D.C., I wouldn't go into D.C. And that's exactly what happened. For the first time yesterday, we went in. She was ready. We had not been in since March 11th.
Okay.
So when it came to voting, again, Arlington County, where I live, 3 metro stops from Washington, D.C., exactly 4.6 miles from the White House, but a separate state, not D.C., Washington. They have a brilliant system here of voting. The first day of voting was Friday. That would have been yesterday. And I said to Jude, I want to vote that day. Okay. And she said, all right. And, we talked about it. And I said, look, if you're not ready, I would go on the metro by myself. Right. I mean, I would. So I'm going to vote. I want to vote. And I said, but here's the thing. I think if you're not ready to go on the metro and you're not, why don't you drive me? Right. I'll go in and vote. You go do whatever it is you want to do if you just want to sit in the car, and then we'll go home. And she said, yeah. And when we got there, Brian, here's what we witnessed. We vote at Arlington Courthouse. And the reason I'm saying that is not to tell you my story. I think
but
everybody.
I did see there were a lot of people in like Fairfax, Virginia.
Well, here's the thing, but that's almost fake news too. Let me get to that, and that's why I'm pissed today at some of my journalistic colleagues. Mm-hmm. So this, So we go. Now what they had done, they had taken over a building, literally an empty bank building that was right next to their courthouse, and had designed the best voting setup I've ever seen. 12, not 16. 12 clerks taking your ballot, right? You walk over, you vote, and you're out. I was out of there in less than 4 minutes from start to finish. I was out, actually, yeah. Judy was out in 5 because she had to read a couple of things on the questions. Now, today in the paper, and you just said you heard it, they were talking about these long lines and stuff. Now, here's what happens, though. Yes, they went at 8. The polls opened at, I'm going to say 8. They went at 8. Maybe they had to work at 9, whatever. After that, there wasn't anybody. And my point is, that's why you need to go check it out for yourself, right? When you hear these things, Now, the reporters were not lying. They were reporting what they saw at a time that they saw it, right? But people are going to read that and say, oh, I'm not going out there now. What do I do? Well, here for us, that was the first option. So I have voted. I have voted proudly for Joe Biden and even more proudly against Donald Trump. And so did Jude. And we have no problems saying that. But had we chosen not to, the county of Arlington has stepped forward and they've named 5 other designated sites, which will open October 17th, where you can vote. And one of those is the Senior Citizens Rec Center at the library in our neighborhood. So we could have walked there. And then I will end with this in terms of voting. We have the easiest vote. I can vote in my pajamas. We actually vote in the building in which I live. So not everybody gets that, but they do get these other options, right? And that's what people need to explore. Just like tonight, we're saying explore what you're going to do if, right? With Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, that's all what if. Voting, once you've made the decision, everyone tonight, and you talk, figure out what's best for you. What do you feel you want to do? I was interested in a couple comments, and I understand exactly how these people felt. The 2 of the comments I read today said, I did it, but I just love to vote on election day. It means more to me. We don't know what that's going to be like, right? But if that's what you want to do, just make sure you vote, Brian. So there are 3 points, kind of 3 or 4 in there I want to make. Number one, let's get to the journalists. Don't listen. I mean, don't reject them. They're not fake news, but check it out for yourself, right? That's number one. Number 2, figure out how you're going to vote and go about it. And number 3, just like I did, it's not being egotistical. Tell your story. Because some people are going to be, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. In and out in 4 minutes. Never threatened. It was as safe as anything I've done in the pandemic. So that's basically it. I mean, so I'm saying 2 things about think about what you're going to do about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and this appointment, everyone. And I loved your suggestion, Brian, even though it was like pulling teeth to get it out of you. You decide some things or you decide some options, and then we all get together and talk about what's best, right? Which is kind of what we're doing tonight.
Right. And meanwhile,
this is introductory, but
we're going
kind
to
of
need a lot more pressure from, I'm getting, I don't want to
Kim,
go on a tirade.
What do you have for dinner? And do you do delivery?
Get a long way to go. She lives out west.
She's got Kim. You don't have a private jet? Thanks for coming, Kim. We appreciate it.
Right, Kim. It's always good to see you. Right. Geez, I just fell off a cliff again, Dave. Every time you say something,
No.
I mean, I know Sandy just mentioned something about somebody blocking the mail-in voting, and she's feeling nervous about that.
Look, nervousness is not bad. Nervous is not bad.
I do want to go into Chuck Schumer because, he's a decent enough guy, but he doesn't seem to have the guts. Like Jane Fonda said last night on Bill Maher's show, she said, I don't think she said goddamn, but she said, damn it, why can't we have somebody that does what the Republicans did with Mitch McConnell? We're going to have to be.
We do.
Well, who
They're
is
not
it?
there yet.
Well, we need that. And
follow people. Follow AOC and the squad. Follow the people that come after them. The Democrats right now, and I can understand that, they've been there a while.
And maybe it will train us to be more together. I don't know. We're not going to get any help.
I mean, they're going to be the ones, I'm not certainly saying these. I mean, look, it does seem, I'm not being fair. I mean, it does seem hopeless at this point, or certainly you would not be unrealistic to say, my God.
She'd have a good reason to be hopeless.
Meatloaf. I love Meatloaf, Kim. And Emily, Emily, we kind of had a relationship over the years. You could bring me some meatloaf. Anyway, what I'm saying is this idea of just sitting back and doing nothing. I know we're not. And a lot of people, Brian, are like my brother-in-law. If you ask him, do you want chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream tonight, he will do 472 calculations. What's best. So I know not everyone acts like I do. I mean, I make my snap decision and I go. But I think, but maybe somebody will say, "Hey, Dave, that's not the best decision. That's not the best way. So we're gonna work together." But it's also I think we've gotten as Americans so much that we want somebody to do for us. We want it to be easy. I keep going back to Occupy. I love their idea. I knew it wouldn't work. I talked to them at length because human beings, being the way we are, we need a leader, unfortunately. And Occupy tried great democracy. I went down there and said, I studied it, learned it, and
no
it was
leader.
just too many. What?
They had no leader.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the way it works. Now, the problem with having a leader is you have to follow him. Bernie said to every one of his followers, he said it more than once, if you believed in me, if you wanted me, vote for Joe Biden. I'll be here. I can work with Joe. We'll be close.
And by the way, on that note, Dave.
Yes.
Again, I'm going back to Bill Maher, and I actually fell asleep because I'm so tired on Friday nights. But I forget who that kid. I don't know.
Why are you tired, Brian? You're not even teaching in front of kids. Oh, never mind.
Listen, so they get this guy. He's kind of does that redneck thing on YouTube. Where
Brett Terhune?
No, it's not Brent Terhune. No, it's somebody else. He's black hair. I think he's from like Louisiana or Kentucky or something. But I'm sure you've seen him before. And, and Bill Maher had him on, and he brought up what we brought up. He said, and he's a liberal. He is a liberal down south, and he has a very But I think you know who he is. But he, young guy, beard and kind of long hair. He does the redneck thing, and he said that I am so pissed off. Like after this death here, that the far left, if they don't catch on to voting against Trump just because of this one issue of the Supreme Court, he doesn't want to see these people again. He basically is saying, this is so obvious.
You know what? I agree with him to this extent. Again, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about me as a representative of everyone else. I know that Joe Biden will win. I'm going to tell you that. I like that 50-50 chance. HLS, I'm going to go a little bit different. 55-45 to Biden. But the idea, Brian, of this, like I say, wanting others to do for us or whatever, we all have to step up. And you're right. You're absolutely right, Brian. There's no, all those things come, there's cliche, there's no I in team and together we.
But isn't it revolting that these people who plant the flag saying they want the planet to be better and all, they've got to have things, every goddamn selfish thing their way. And, just for one issue they should vote, and that is the Supreme Court, so that a woman has the right over her own body, and they're not going to fucking do it.
So that we have a court that might not say, look, let's shut down all solar. And let's give all the money.
And by the way, Sandy, I don't want to go too deep into this, but this full and well.
Alexa's talking to you in the background.
Okay, is that even Sandy with her channel, she can't discuss these kind of things because it's just a moot point with her subscribers. Because if she did it, that would be it. They'd attack her.
Well, and again, I know Sandy not as well as you do, and I have a lot of respect for her, especially considering, that
very important issue.
That she said, I'm putting myself out there. Okay. But I will say to Sandy or anyone else, you put yourself out there, you're going to get attacked.
She said she's not going to do it on the YouTube channel.
No, I understand, but I'm just telling anybody, that's part of this idea. We want it easy. I used to really berate my students when they would say, man, we need to. I said, no, you need to.
Right.
They wanted somebody else to do it for them.
Well, that's why I like Impending's channel, because Impending, man, he just has the balls. He will just come straight out, and he doesn't give a shit. He never will be on the fence.
How do you, I mean, if you know something is true, Brian, like this is me, how can you not act on it?
Well, but you'd be
I know
surprised.
there's a lot. I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just saying. There
You
aren't.
just
Now,
on YouTube, you see how people like to. I mean, look at this. Look, Sandy will admit it. There's pressure from her subscribers. I don't feel it anymore because now I'm on my own team with this likewise people. But and I didn't play that game though with my own subscribers. I couldn't
like
do
that.
it.
And we'll come back to that. I'm sorry, Brian.
But in Mendham, he had. I mean, you know a little bit about him, Dave. But
yeah, I know.
But Gary, he's not going to live his life on the fence on any issue. He is always going to be there, and he's going to say, okay, this is where I am, and that's it, and fuck you. And I have such respect for that, because that's what has to be done to make the movement, and you have to at some point.
But you have to watch people like that, Brian, in this respect. They can say it for themselves, but they can't expect it for others.
No, I get that. Look,
yeah, I'm just saying. People do that.
I can't even be like in Mendham. I can't go all the way with him. I mean, I can't humiliate everybody I don't agree with. I mean, but
I don't think we need to do that. I think what you can do, and I think as I'm sitting here thinking, I do this, Brian. This is one of my teaching styles. It's Socratic. You're the everyman right now. Okay. Would you agree that one of the effective weapons that we have in the human arsenal to change opinion, just one, is logic and reason?
Yes, just like humiliation sometimes does.
All right. So, would you say the conclusion that I've reached, and this is the conclusion I've reached, that logic and reason do not work on Trump supporters?
Absolutely right.
Right. But you know how we haven't worked on too much?
The left?
Mm-hmm. I still think logic and reason may get through to them. I know it won't to the other side. I haven't done a lot of work with the extreme left other than here in D.C. And I didn't have a lot of success.
Sandy, by the way, just said she's coming out. She said, I have come out and that I'm voting blue.
Yeah, well, and look, Sandy, blue ocean. I mean, how could you do anything else? You're blue ocean now. Look, you know what? And I think that's another thing, Brian. I don't think we look at, sometimes I don't think we look at small victories enough. Again, Sandy, I'm speaking totally out of turn. So if I say anything wrong, don't forgive me, just scream at me. But what little bit I know about Sandy, I think she's a very conscientious, a very serious person who sees threats and wants to work to make the world better. That's how I view her.
Right, and she doesn't monetize, so she's not looking.
Well, to me, that's wonderful.
Okay.
But I think Sandy, for whatever reasons, and it could just be being a woman. I'm not putting them down. Women are treated in America as second, sometimes third-class citizens, and sometimes we don't even know it as men, Brian. Sometimes we don't even know it. I'm not excusing our behavior.
Right.
We're louder. You know what I mean? It's just so for whatever reason. But Sandy, what I knew, that's a big victory for us. Sandy's somewhat influential, right? There's
sure,
going to be maybe 1,000,
a lot more than we have.
There might be 5 or 6 or 4, which we have to get. And sometimes I think we miss those victories. Now you have to be careful on the internet. These stories are made up. But I read one today, but I kind of get the feeling it's true. I forget where the state was. It's not important. Trump area. And the wife had been opposed to Trump. The husband was for Trump. And during the virus, he actually sat down and started looking at things, right? Mm. And he said, damn, was I wrong? And he went out and he got a Republicans for Biden sign and put it up. And that's brave, okay? Now, again, I'm going to say this. This is what I would say. I live in an apartment. I don't have a lawn. I can't put a Biden sign up. But I would fully expect them being the others, to steal it.
Right.
And you know what I would do?
They do that a lot.
You know what I would do? Put up another one.
Well, you know what I did? This goes back many elections when I put dog shit around the sign. I wanted them to steal it. And the guy took it and he put it in his Mercedes.
I don't want to say.
You have a lot of detailing to do, fella.
I just find it interesting. I think, I mean, maybe it's because liberals really are better people. I don't know. But the idea of it is, there's nothing that I would put past a Trumper to do. And so if that's kind of the anticipation, nothing they do surprises me.
Worst of all, they just lie.
Well, worse than lying is they believe Trump's lies. I think that, and there was a point when I thought that was sad. I don't now.
By the way, Sandy just mentioned she gets from the people who like Jimmy Dore, who is
that's somebody
really far left, and she gets a lot of shit from those. And Sandy, again, I didn't speak exactly the way I should have about that, but I know the pressure you have because I know the type of subscribership you have, which is what we had on the reality report, and it's very difficult with that group. I mean, you're friends with some of those people.
Do you think, Brian? I mean, I'm way outside of my area of expertise now. That's never stopped me from voicing an opinion. Both Sandy's show and your old reality report were focused on the environment.
Well,
and this show is a broader based coalition.
Hold it. Let's just say this because I want to make sure this is exact. Sandy's show, just in the name itself, tells you the Environmental Coffee House. That was for the environment.
Right.
The channel that I originally had was kind of a potpourri of things. It went into the reality report, which was going to talk about politics, philosophy, whatever. But again, if you remember, Dave, we had the Guy McPherson interviews.
Oh, I know.
And then the flood of Guy McPherson fans came in. And I'm not blaming Guy. We are the ones who invited him, so it's our fault. Right. But then we were essentially co-opted by the environmental crowd.
All that, Brian, I'm going to cut you off just because all that. I mean, I know and other people know too. But let me ask you something. It's funny how life works, Brian. Would you rather be doing what we're doing tonight, or would you rather be doing it on the reality report?
Well, if I didn't have the
Brian, no ifs.
Okay, I would rather do this because I can talk the way I want to, and it's more acceptable.
Now you know how this show got to be because you got fed up with the reality report.
Right.
When I say let it go, what I'm saying is that's a good thing.
I couldn't continue the way it was going.
Brian, it's dead.
Right. I got it. You know
what I'm saying? I mean, I understand it was part of you and it's personal. I got that. But I think all of us, and when I say this stuff, I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm just saying, this is good. This is where I feel that I need to be for me. If nobody else agrees with me, please turn it off. I mean, I don't care.
Thanks,
if everybody got up there and said like today, you're an asshole, and I took that as a compliment. I really did. The older I get, the more I think of the wisdom of my mother and father. And my dad was a Texan, so he had a lot of his Texas sayings, right? And he'd say, son, if the devil calls you bad, it's a good thing. So what do you mean by that? If the bad people think you're wrong, you're good.
Right.
Now you better make sure
that you're a good person, right?
Yeah.
There. Yeah, I get that.
So what I'm saying, I mean, do I like to be liked? Yeah, sure. We all do, right? So that's it. But I think if you're going to battle for what you think is right, that has to overcome your needs to be liked.
Right, and that's why
they don't go hand in hand.
That's Dave. When I mentioned in Mendham,
Sandy, I agree with you right there. That's it. I mean, I don't understand why people do that, Sandy. I don't watch things that I don't like. I mean, why would I do that? Why would I subject myself to that?
Right, but I'm saying, again, going back to Mendham, what he does is, he has 10,000 subscribers. He's a lot higher than us, but he actually will block people. He wants to lose subscribers if they're assholes. I
think you should. I mean, look, again, I'm just using my life as an example. When Donald Trump was elected, I went through my numbers. I had 81 people who I knew voted for Trump on my page, my personal page. Right? And I tried everything I knew to keep them there, not for any other reason than I felt very strongly that, it should be an open forum. It should be this. It should be that. But there comes a point as I just said earlier, it had nothing to do with like, it just had to do with an archaic view I had that logic and reason could get through to people. And it can't all the time.
It can. It can. And
And
that's one thing
so,
I had to grow up because that's how I function is
well,
through
and so you know
logic.
what? Now I've gone to the other extreme, which is what you almost have to do. To be honest with you, of those 81 people, if they never speak to me again, and I never speak to them, and only 3 of them are relatives, and they're all on my wife's side, not that that means anything, but c'est la vie. I'm not saying it callously or whatever. No, I mean, look, when you start getting down to it, I don't have political differences with Trumpers. I have moral differences. I have philosophical.
And that's where it comes down to, right? That's exactly what it comes down
It
to.
has nothing to do with that.
They don't even
And
understand like the basic economics for most of them. Most of them don't.
So I don't care. I don't even care about the intellectual part so much. I mean, you can be ignorant. You can be unread. You don't even have to take a bath to be a good person, right? But basically, a good person does this. They look at the world and say, you know what? There's some problems out there. And I got to kind of do something about it. Or at least if I can't do that, I shouldn't make them worse. I mean, I don't understand how, I just don't. I keep repeating myself over time, but how can you look as a white person at a black American and not understand that they are victims of 401 years of laws on the books, sometimes off the books, of codes, of beliefs that says you are not an American.
Right.
If America means all people are free, it's not. Now,
And all the while they built America. That's
well, but that's always
makes it even
that's always
worse.
the irony. Look, you want real irony about that? Living in D.C. And working at the time at the museum. Museum is on Pennsylvania Avenue, and so is Trump's Hotel. So I was by there, countless times while it was being rehabbed. Right? There was not one Anglo worker that I saw. It was all Latino laborers.
Naturally.
So at that time, they're murderers, they're rapists, they're thugs, but I will use them
to bring
to
down the
build
wages.
my gold palace. So that hasn't changed. I mean, now it hasn't changed, but it doesn't mean it can't change. And again, I come up with this. We all have heroes. Unfortunately, 2 of mine have died, just recently, and that would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Even more so, John Lewis. I mean, John I actually knew, but what I mean, Martin Luther King. It's always impressed me. I said the sermon he gave the last night before he died. The promised land. I may not get there with you,
Right.
and I think that's. I mean, we all want to get there, but you know what? When you get to be my age, kids, and 68. It's not. I'm not fearing any man. I'm not Martin Luther King. I fear crazies with guns. But really, anything I do right now, I really am doing for. It's got a name. It's got 2 names. Audrey Owen. No, Audrey Susan and Owen Francis Price. They're my grandkids, and I understand what Dr. King was saying. It's not about us getting there. It's about us doing what we can for those who come after us. You've seen it 1,000 times. It's cliched, but they said, the best kind of people are those who plant a tree that may never blossom in their time, but will blossom for other generations. And that's really, really. Darlene, let me say something. I understand that. I got it. Okay, I got it. But here's the thing. It took me a long time. I hid behind words, Brian. I detest, I deplore, I want to say hate. And finally, it came to the realization this. I do hate Donald Trump. And I should hate Donald Trump. And we all should hate Donald Trump. And it's the only word that applies. You and I know, we have similar beliefs in that neither one of us subscribe to organized religion. I never have. Well, I never have.
Compliment. Woo-hoo.
Who?
Sandy said you look great.
I wish I did. I just look old Sandy sometimes. But thank you very much. But the idea of this is this. In the Bible, and I think, again, this is just my belief. I think everyone should study the Bible because so much of America is based on it. And so much of America is based on reading of it. But it says in there, because I was looking up some things about evil and hate. And, again, the Bible contradicts itself, etc. But I like this. It said, you should abhor evil. And abhor is just a fancy word for hate. So here's the way I look at it. If you believe that Donald Trump is either evil or the embodiment of evil, and I believe he's both, then you should hate him. How could you do anything else? And hate is only bad if you let it simmer and don't do anything about it, right? If Biden wins, I will send friend requests to all Trump supporters and then unfriend them. If they accept my friend request, I'll tell them a DM telling them to go fuck themselves and unfriend again. That makes us feel good, and I understand that. Right now, and I'm not above that. I actually, the only thing, Brian, that honestly pisses me off, I guess, in this whole thing is
it's the party too, right? I mean, you hate the party. I know you do.
Well, I do. I mean,
but again, you said it's been co-opted.
I hate that Donald Trump's co-opted it.
Right.
Because if Donald Trump weren't there, I'm not saying I wouldn't hate it, right? I don't think I hated Mitt Romney when he was running. I mean, I don't think I hated that party. I think the two people that I reserve the word hate for are Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Now, there might be, because they have the power. Pity applies better than hate. He couldn't help being born into the Genovese crime family. I've thought about that a lot, Scott, about this idea. And usually I very much, having taught in inner cities all my life, you find out pretty quickly that the kids aren't bad. They're kind of born bad. They're created. I think Donald Trump, the difference of opinion that I have with Donald Trump is, if you're, well, let's use The Godfather. I mean, it's a made up book, but it's pretty accurate. Michael Corleone didn't have much chance. He was born in the family business, right? Brian, are you familiar with The Godfather at all?
I'll be frank with you. I haven't seen Godfather or Star Wars.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Basically, it's a family. It's a crime family, and Michael is a resistor. He's the one who goes in he's going to try. His father wants to keep him out and drag me back in, right? But that didn't happen to Trump. You could say that about his running his father's business. Nobody dragged him into being president. He made that conscious choice. And so I have no pity. Now, again, I'm going to do something. This is what hate does to you. When I look at his mother, she scares me. And with that one hairdo she had, I swear to God, all I can think of is the alien in Predator. That's all I can think of. He's got this thing. And his dad, we know his father was in the Ku Klux Klan. We know his father was incapable of love. Normally I'd say, no.
Well, I certainly wish that Trump would have had
who Vegemite?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Stephen Miller. I'm sorry. I forgot Stephen. Sometimes I don't think Stephen Miller. The only good thing about Stephen Miller is this. He went to Duke University and so did my daughter-in-law. So when my daughter-in-law, who's, a great person, if she ever gets cocky about their basketball team, I say, yes, they're very good, but they produce Stephen Miller too. No, Stephen Miller, and what's worse is he's Jewish. He turns on his own people. Now you want to know somebody I do. You want to know somebody I do feel pity for? Herman Cain.
Yeah, he died because of Trump.
Yeah, well, think about that. And Herman, I think Herman was just, he was funny.
999.
Yeah, but Herman was funny. I got to hear him speak twice. He was wrong, but he was funny. And So yeah, I kind of do feel bad for him. Now, if I were a black person, I might not, because he sold out his side. I don't feel bad for Clarence Thomas. I think he's another piece of scum. I don't hate him. Anthony Scalia, I'm not speaking good because he's dead. I think this is interesting, Brian. It kind of ties in what we're saying tonight. You know who the two best friends were in since I've been in Washington who were on the Supreme Court?
I believe it was Scalia and Ginsburg.
They were, and that's just not apocryphal. It just so happens that one of the people who worked on the Obama campaign with us, with Judy and I, when we worked on it, is an usher at the Kennedy Center, and he was actually in charge of their box. Where they shared a box, meaning they were both opera lovers. That's really what bonded them first. They were both opera lovers, and they really, So yeah, Scalia, and I had again. Sometimes you need to see people, and I got a chance a couple times to not chat one-on-one with him, but be around him and hear what he had to say. And he wasn't a bad person, right? But Donald Trump is a bad man, a bad father, a bad businessman, a bad candidate, a bad politician. And I'm even go so far as to say when he's in Attica, he'll be a bad prisoner. Or I won't go to whatever prison he goes to. Because I'm going to tell you, he's going to go. He's going to.
That one I won't agree with you. I would love to see that. He will not go.
Okay, let me tell you why I think he will. It's not for what he's done as president.
Never going to happen.
I don't care about that. It's what he did as a businessman.
I know what you're saying.
Before. And here's what happens. There's no one can pardon him except the governor of New York. Now, who does Trump have, Brian? The normal thing is I'll get out of it if I give up, right? If I can he's the head. He's the crime boss. If they can get him, they're going to come for him. And I think they're going to get him.
Get him.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Sandy. I used to do that. I love The Sopranos. Part of it was New Jersey. Part of it had Little Steven in it. The character development, the writer is great. The whole thing was great. But there were times I said, wait a minute. He's a psychotic, sociopathic killer. Why do I like him? But that was James Gandolfini played that role so damn well. And unfortunately, sometimes when you play your role so well, he died. I did get to see him in Gods of Carnage on Broadway. And I was into Act 2 before I kept saying, why is Tony Soprano on the stage? So yeah, everybody likes to put Cuomo down. Oh, no. You're right. A lot. I think too, same thing, Sandy. I still follow New Jersey a little bit with Murphy. I think what happens is people want to do what they want to do when they want to do it without concern for anybody else. And the Democratic governors are saying you got to be concerned. And I'm not, if you can't do what you're supposed to do, I'll shut the damn place down. And people don't like that. New York is a miracle. As hard hit as they were, that's not going to happen in Florida.
I know one thing. Cuomo would kick his ass if it was a real fight. That's for sure.
No.
No?
This is interesting. Brian, I jumped on you tonight, and I jump on everybody who does that. It says if or but or what. One of the great what ifs is, what if this virus had been 2 years earlier? Would Cuomo have been the Democratic nominee? You know what I mean? It's just interesting. We don't know, right?
He's done a great job. Yeah,
that's
an interesting question.
If the need were not political need, moral need,
I would say yes. I would agree with you.
An African American to be a vice president, would he have been vice presidential if he couldn't? We'll just never know, right? But I think again, it's very simple. Americans, nope. Got to rephrase that. So many Americans have this attitude. I have freedom, and freedom means I can do whatever I want whenever I want it. And that's not what freedom means.
Correct.
Freedom means I can do whatever I want up until a point where what I'm considering doing for my freedom infringes on someone else. The non-legal interpretation is I have freedom to do what I want right up to the moment my fist touches your nose, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what people are missing. And what I love is, and I really do love this, libtards, whiny weenie babies, cry babies.
Dave, you want to read this and answer Scott Murtaugh's
I like the guy. Does this stream end at the time indicated?
We try.
What time is it supposed to end, Brian? I don't have a clock.
8:33. No,
What?
we have 8 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Well, could you put the clock up so I see it?
It is there. Hold on, I have to
It
check.
isn't there, Brian.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please get this intransigent, thick-headed person?
Where is the clock, Brian?
It's online. You're looking at Skype, aren't you?
All right, hold on. I could be.
Let me get preferences.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, you know what I just did, Brian? It's very good. I just now have myself twice. I don't even see you. That's good. That's the best thing I've done all night.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm going to see what.
All right, so I'm going to sum up this way. I'm going to sum up early tonight. Grieve Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, but use her life to inspire you to do what you need to do now. And 2 words: fight. And then a phrase, fight right. And that's pretty much what she did her whole life. As far as what comes next, be prepared for it, think about it, and understand that this fight, whether it's a fight over the Supreme Court nomination, the fight to stop Trump's reelection, the fight to get Mitch McConnell out of power, whatever it is, that's just one battle in the long-term fight.
Right.
The long-term fight is, and it will never end in my lifetime, probably not my son's, maybe my grandchildren's, is to make America live up to the ideals that it has written down in its Constitution and its Bill of Rights. And we're right back to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She would say, I think if she were alive, that's America. Where we fall short as Americans, each and every one of us, where we fall short as a country, is when we don't act in accordance with those precepts. Now remember, they were written in the 18th century. I got that. But we've been able to kind of take that all men are created free and kind of interpret into all people are created free. So if there's a person in America tonight who isn't free, and I think there are large groups of people that are free, that aren't free. I mean, not enslaved freedom. I mean, that's what people, stupid people look at it that way. We shouldn't be stupid. Then our work is not done. If there are kids in cages, which is anti-American, then our work is not done. If there are women who are receiving unasked for surgeries, we'll make it such that they can never again have children, and that's being done without their permission through the auspices of government, our work is not done. If Joe Biden wins, and I believe he will, and we don't hold him to the same standards that we want Donald Trump, and let me just speak about that for a moment. I did not hold Bill Clinton to the standards I should have held him to. Okay, that's on me. I own that. I don't think Joe Biden will do things that Bill Clinton did. I really don't, but it's just there. So, Brian, this idea, you worry about what you worry about. I worry what I worry about. I worry somewhat more that Trump does lose. McConnell's no longer the Senate, and we take the Senate, and some of us will just say, we're tired, man, we're exhausted. I can't do this anymore. Well, you won't have to do it to the same level, but we still have to do it.
All right, Dave. Well said, as usual. I like your endings. It's great. Maybe I should add something in tonight. I usually don't.
I wanted that.
But I have 3 minutes to say something. Dave, I think in general, in the end, you're an optimist, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. In general, I am a pessimist only
and
because
nothing wrong with that either, Brian.
of just what I've experienced in my life, and my life's been pretty good compared to most people, I think. I mean, I can't really complain. I've seen a lot of bad around me. I've seen a lot of death and things like that, but I can't say that I was abused or this or that. No. But I think I have a general philosophy that we're on that wheel, and that mouse's wheel. And this thing, as I said in the beginning of the show, it's kind of like 41 and 42. Will we beat Germany? And am I any better off, or are you any better off than those same neighbors who didn't make it, or my friend who had multiple cancers? I'm getting tired, Dave. I'm saying I'm getting.
We all are, Brian.
I get it,
It's
and I'm
not
not giving
you.
up. I mean, I'll
It's
just
not you, Brian. We're all tired.
right.
We're all and I know I'm not supposed to be talking now, but I always do talk over you anyway.
That's why we have the fucking countdown.
No,
Scott
just because your
wanted to
point,
know.
no, just because your points are so good.
I can't even hold them to 50. Go ahead, Dave.
No, your points are so good. We are tired, and I think we have to tell ourselves. Again, we just have to remind ourselves, it's not just Donald Trump we're fighting. It's a pandemic. Look, the worst thing you can have is fear. That's the only thing. That's the only real, look, if we knew what was going to happen to us when we die, if we knew convinced, I don't think we'd fear death as much as we do. What's the horse? You fear,
well, death is not a problem for me, again, Dave. It's the dying that is.
But I'm saying, but Brian, you always come back. I'm just saying, look, are you scared right now?
It's not scared. I'm disappointed with everything the way it's going. We like when Trump says we get tired of winning. I'm tired of losing.
You're tougher than most of us.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. This can relate to any topic. It could relate to what we were talking about with 1941. It can relate to music. It can relate to sex, whatever.
Right.
There's something called tension and release in life. And you can't keep building up the tension and not have release. You must have release. And you know that from soloing in jazz and in rock.
Brian, I know that. But the thing is, again, my philosophy, for what it's worth, is, and we've talked about this a lot, you and I, we haven't talked much on the show, is I look at what I call grace under pressure. We're born under pressure. We die under pressure. We should judge ourselves with how we handle that time in between. And for me, it works to continue to fight and know you're tired. And so then one day you just say, I'm not doing this. I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to do whatever, right? But know that the next day you'll be back.
No, I look.
And you do too. I know, but I'm just saying.
That I fight. I wouldn't do this shit. But I'm saying I don't see any escape from being tired, because I will fight. I will
then
fight
you know what?
a good fight. And that's all can be expected in life.
And there you are, Bri. And that's it. And again, I'm not accusing you of it.
I'm mad at the God who doesn't exist.
Would it be easier? Look. Would it have been easier if Hillary Clinton had beaten Donald Trump? Certainly. Would it have been easier maybe if Ruth Bader Ginsburg had, but she didn't. Okay, I mean, there's all this stuff, right? Just keep fighting, kids. Did I make it, Scott?
Shit, I was hoping you'd keep quiet for more than 3 seconds, and you kept going. Let's just see if you can hold on. Hold on. Is he? Okay. You can do for another 30 seconds.
obvious funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly. Cleansing me of stress I hold.
Say it and remark later is, you're right. Brian does need duct
Cop
tape.
myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly. Cleansing me of stress I hold. Realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings dropping. And so I cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. Funk, thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. I needed me some rainy days, so I needed me some rainy days, so for the weary, so we teary eyes realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings dropping. And so I cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord.